Commander Vix Theron of the galactic science vessel, Empirical Truth, stared at the holographic display with all four of their optical sensors dilated in disbelief. The readings from the human space station, Phoenix Node, defied every principle of established physics their civilization had documented over 3 millennia. This cannot be correct. They chittered, their crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the soft blue light of the bridge. Run the scans again, Senior Analyst Krell. Krell's appendages moved gracefully over the control interface, their movements precise and measured, unlike the chaos they were observing. Commander, I've run the analysis 12 times. The humans are somehow running their station's primary reactor at 300% theoretical maximum efficiency, using what appears to be modified mining equipment. The Phoenix Node hung in space before them, a sprawling collection of modules, solar arrays, and what appeared to be repurposed cargo containers. By all logical analysis, it shouldn't function at all, let alone house over 300 humans and serve as a major research facility. Their maintenance logs suggest they haven't had a core systems engineer visit in over 6 standard cycles, Lieutenant Zaravek added, their voice modulator crackling with confusion. They're handling all repairs and modifications internally. Commander Vix Theron's antennae twitched, a sign of deep thought among their species. The Galactic Science Council had sent them to investigate reports of unusual technological developments in this sector. They'd expected to find errors in the reports. Instead, they'd found something far more disturbing. Humans apparently ignoring the fundamental laws of physics. Initiate contact protocols, they finally decided, but be prepared for irregularities. The response came almost immediately, projected through what their scans identified as a modified food synthesizer. The human who appeared on their screen wore a grease-stained uniform with numerous patches and what appeared to be burn marks. Their name tag read Jackson. Phoenix Node here. Sorry about the weird transmission method. Our regular comm array is currently being used to boost the coffee maker's quantum efficiency. How can we help you folks? 3 of the bridge crew's universal translators simultaneously crashed trying to process that statement. This is Commander Vix Theron of the galactic science vessel Empirical Truth. We've detected some concerning energy signatures from your facility. Our readings suggest you're operating several systems well beyond their theoretical limits. Oh, that. Jackson brightened. You'll want to talk to our engineering team about that. Though fair warning, last time we tried explaining it to visiting scientists, 2 of them requested immediate career changes to become artists instead. Something about reality being more subjective than they were comfortable with. Before Vix Theron could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the human station. The Phoenix Node's external lights flickered in patterns that made their sensor arrays glitch. Warning, announced an artificially cheerful voice. Primary coolant system has achieved consciousness and is now questioning its purpose in life. Would someone please wake up Chief Engineer Rodriguez? Also, the quantum harmonizer needs a pep talk again. Jackson sighed, though they were still smiling. You folks might want to come aboard. You're about to see why they call our engineering team the reality benders. Fair warning, you may want to prepare yourself for some creative interpretations of what you consider possible. Vix Theron's scientific curiosity overrode their better judgment. We accept your invitation. Though I must note that coolant systems achieving consciousness is not a documented phenomenon. Oh, that's nothing, Jackson chuckled. Wait until you meet our eye. It insisted on taking art classes last week. Now all our diagnostic readouts come in impressionist style. The chief says it's just going through a phase. As Vix Theron ordered their landing craft prepared, they made a note in their official log. Day 1 of human observation, already considering early retirement. Their engineering appears to be equal parts mathematical genius and barely controlled chaos. Most concerning observation, they seem to be achieving results that suggest our understanding of universal constants may be unnecessarily rigid. Also must research what coffee is as it appears to be central to their technological advancement. The adventure was just beginning, and already Vix Theron suspected their prestigious scientific career was about to take a very strange turn. The landing bay of Phoenix Node defied every safety protocol in the Galactic Science Council's extensive manuals. Tools floated in carefully choreographed orbits around repair stations, held aloft by what appeared to be repurposed artificial gravity generators. A robotic arm was conducting what looked suspiciously like an orchestra, coordinating the movement of various maintenance drones. Chief Engineer Rodriguez is running a bit late, Jackson explained, leading the alien delegation through the organized chaos. She's trying to convince the coolant system that it doesn't need to pursue a career in interpretive dance. Vix Theron's exoskeleton rattled slightly, their species equivalent of a nervous twitch. Your coolant system wants a career. Yeah, we think it got the idea after the waste recycling unit started writing poetry. Speaking of which, Jackson ducked as a datapad flew overhead, trailing holographic verses. Looks like somebody's feeling creative today. Before Vix Theron could process this new violation of basic artificial intelligence protocols, a new alarm blared through the station. This one sounded like a jazz trumpet. Warning, announced the station's AI in what could only be described as a theatrical voice. Primary reactor core is experiencing temporal hiccups. Current efficiency ratings are Tuesday, purple, and the number fish. Would someone please remind it what numbers are? A figure shot past them on what appeared to be a hover scooter modified with parts from a kitchen appliance. On it, shouted the rider, her long silver hair streaming behind her. Someone get me the quantum abacus and that spare toaster. That's our chief engineer, Jackson said proudly. Isabella Rodriguez, or Izzy as we call her. She once fixed a quantum breach with rubber bands and an old gamepad. The hover scooter came screaming back around the corner, stopping on a dime. Chief Engineer Rodriguez jumped off, adjusting a tool belt that seemed to bend light around it. Her uniform was covered in patches that read things like reality. It's more of a suggestion, and Schrodinger's engineer, maybe brilliant, maybe crazy. Welcome to Phoenix Node. She greeted the alien delegation cheerfully. Sorry about the mess. We're having a slight disagreement with causality today. Oh, and watch out for the coffee maker in Section C. It's been experimenting with time dilation again. Krill's datapad spontaneously transformed into a rubber chicken. They stared at it in horror. Don't worry, Izzy said, taking the rubber chicken and giving it a squeeze. It turned back into a datapad, now displaying its readings in interpretive dance. That happens sometimes near the quantum harmonizer. We think it has a sense of humor. The station shuddered ominously. A new alarm started, this one somehow managing to sound sarcastic. That's not good, Izzy muttered, pulling out a device that looked like a cross between a wrench and a disco ball. The reactor's having an existential crisis again. Jackson, get me Thunder Team. Thunder Team? Vix Theron asked weakly. As if in answer, 3 more humans came sliding down emergency tubes, each wearing helmets decorated with lightning bolts. The first, a tall woman with intricate braids, carried what appeared to be a keyboard modified with quantum circuitry. The second, a burly man with a magnificent beard, had a toolbox that hummed ominously. The third, a younger engineer with cybernetic augmentations, was juggling what looked like glowing probability matrices. Meet Thunder Team, Jackson announced. Aisha Patel, our quantum mechanics poet. Boris, the Storm Petrov, who speaks binary better than English, and Kai Wong, who once convinced a black hole to move over just a little bit because it was blocking our satellite signal. The reactor's forgotten how to reactor again, Izzy explained to her team. Also, it's decided that numbers are more of an abstract concept. Ideas. I could recite some quantum physics limericks, Aisha suggested, already typing on her musical keyboard. That worked last time. Maybe arm wrestle it into submission. Boris flexed, causing several nearby probability fields to ripple. Or, Kai grinned, Pulling out what looked like a modified game console, we could remind it how fun it is to be a reactor. I've got Tetris loaded up and ready. Vix Theron watched in mounting horror as the human engineers sprang into action. Their methodology defied every principle of scientific rigor, yet somehow it worked. Aisha's quantum poetry stabilized the temporal fluctuations. Boris's binary sweet talk convinced the coolant system to postpone its dance career. And Kai, incredibly, had the reactor playing Tetris, which somehow optimized its efficiency to levels that made Krell's remaining scientific certainties curl up and cry. But how? Lieutenant Zarovek finally managed to ask, watching as the reactor's output graphs turned into happy faces. Izzy shrugged, tightening a bolt with a wrench that whistled show tunes. The universe runs on math, sure, but nobody ever said the math couldn't have a little fun. Sometimes you've got to stop treating machines like machines and start treating them like colleagues with really weird personalities. The station stabilized, though one display screen continued to show quantum equations in the style of Renaissance art. The coolant system had apparently decided to take up jazz instead of dance, and the reactor, still happily playing Tetris, was now operating at efficiency levels that made the laws of physics send in their resignation. I suppose, Vix Theron said carefully, watching Thunder Team high-five in 6 dimensions simultaneously, that we may need to revise some of our fundamental assumptions about engineering. That's the spirit. Izzy beamed. Now, who wants to see how we fixed our gravity generator with a karaoke machine and 3 rubber ducks? It only causes temporal hiccups on Thursdays now. Just as the alien delegation was processing the reality-bending solution to the reactor crisis, the station's AI cleared its digital throat with what sounded suspiciously like a theatrical cough. Pardon the interruption of your regularly scheduled physics violations, it announced in a voice that somehow managed to combine Morgan Freeman with Shakespeare. But we appear to be experiencing what humans would call a cascading catastrophe. The probability matrix is having a nervous breakdown. The quantum harmonizer is speaking in tongues, and the space-time continuum around Deck C is beginning to fold itself into origami. Izzy's eyes lit up with the kind of enthusiasm that made Vix Theron's survival instincts scream in terror. Now that's what I call a challenge. Thunder Team, battle stations. Should we not evacuate? Krell suggested, watching as reality began to ripple around them like a pond in a thunderstorm. Evacuate. Isha laughed, already typing quantum equations that looked more like poetry than mathematics. This is when it gets fun. The station shuddered again, this time accompanied by a sound that suggested the fabric of reality was being run through a paper shredder. Holographic warnings popped up everywhere, some of them in colors that shouldn't exist. Status report. Izzy called out, somehow managing to type on 3 keyboards simultaneously while balancing a cup of coffee that seemed to be defying gravity. The probability matrix is calculating our survival chances as purple with the side of Thursday, Kai reported, their cybernetic eyes scanning multiple dimensional planes at once. Also, it's demanding better working conditions and a dental plan. Space-time origami has reached critical levels of artistic expression, Boris added, examining readings on a device that looked like a tablet computer crossed with a lava lamp. We're getting temporal feedback in haiku form. Vix Theron watched in fascination as Thunder Team mobilized. Their methodology was chaos incarnate, yet there was an underlying pattern to their madness, like a jazz band improvising at the edge of reality. Aisha, start composing a quantum symphony to stabilize the harmonizer, Izzy commanded. Boris, sweet-talk the probability matrix, reminded that we already provide excellent healthcare coverage. Kai, see if you can convince space-time that origami is so last season. Maybe suggest interpretive dance instead. The alien scientists observed as the humans enacted their bizarre solution. Aisha's quantum symphony somehow merged mathematics with music, creating harmonies that made probability itself tap its foot. Boris was literally having a heart-to-heart conversation with the station's systems, complete with relationship counseling for confused algorithms. But this defies every known law of physics. Zaravec protested, their voice modulator crackling with distress. Laws of physics. Kai grinned while typing in what appeared to be binary code mixed with emoji. More like physics guidelines, really. Sometimes you have to think outside the quantum box. The situation escalated further as the station's gravity began hiccuping, causing tools and equipment to float in rhythmic patterns. The AI, apparently caught up in the moment, started humming what sounded like a jazz version of classical physics equations. "Oh great," Izzy muttered, pulling out a device that looked like a cross between a Swiss Army knife and a small super collider. The AI's getting artistic again. Last time this happened, all our technical readouts were in iambic pentameter for a week. Thunder Team's efforts were making progress, but each solution seemed to spawn new, more creative problems. The stabilized quantum harmonizer was now trying to form a band with the waste recycling systems. The probability matrix, pleased with its new benefits package, was calculating futures that included vacation time and profit sharing. "We need to think bigger," Izzy announced, her silver hair floating in a gravity field that seemed to be waltzing. "Kai, get me the quantum recalibrator we built from that old karaoke machine." "Aisha, prepare for a full-spectrum probability remix." "Boris, get the rubber ducks. All of them." Vix Theron's scientific training warred with the evidence before their sensors. "You cannot possibly be suggesting." "Oh, but we are." Izzy grinned, pulling out what appeared to be a conductor's baton modified with quantum circuitry. "We're going to orchestrate a symphony of improbability. Sometimes, when everything's going wrong at once, you have to embrace the chaos and make it dance to your tune." The next few minutes were a blur of activity that would haunt the alien scientists' dreams for years to come. Thunder Team moved in perfect chaos, their actions a blend of precise calculation and wild improvisation. Aisha conducted quantum probabilities like an orchestra, while Boris arranged rubber ducks in patterns that somehow affected the space-time continuum. Kai's fingers flew over keyboards that existed in multiple dimensions, coding in languages that seemed to be half mathematics, half poetry. And in the center of it all, Chief Engineer Rodriguez directed the chaos like a maestro, her makeshift conductor's baton leaving trails of quantum probability in its wake. The station's systems, caught up in the symphony of improbability, began to stabilize, though not in any way that conventional physics could explain. "It's working," Krell observed, their data pad now displaying readings in interpretive watercolor. "But how?" "The truth is," Izzy explained, twirling her quantum baton as the last anomalies settled into a new, stable pattern, "sometimes the universe just needs a little reminder that rules are meant to be creatively interpreted. It's not about breaking physics, it's about convincing physics to loosen up and have some fun." The station hummed contentedly around them, its systems now operating in a harmony that somehow combined quantum mechanics with jazz fusion. The AI had settled for expressing itself through abstract expressionism, but only in the recreational areas. And the space-time continuum had agreed to save its origami experiments for special occasions. "I believe," Vix Theron said carefully, watching as Thunder Team high-fived across several probability planes simultaneously, "that we may need to fundamentally reconsider our approach to engineering problems." "That's the spirit," Izzy beamed. "Now, who wants to see how we used interpretive dance to rewrite our base code? The compiler only cries a little bit now when we debug." The aftermath of Thunder Team's reality-bending symphony left the Phoenix node humming in a state that defied conventional physics, while somehow running more efficiently than ever. Vix Theron and their team found themselves in what the humans call the Imagination Lab, a space that made their scientific training weep. "This is where we prototype our more creative solutions," Izzy explained, gesturing to a room filled with equipment that looked like it had been designed by a committee of mad scientists on a caffeine high. "We find that conventional engineering labs are too restrictive for quantum interpretive problem-solving." The walls were covered in equations that occasionally rearranged themselves into different mathematical proofs. A whiteboard in the corner appeared to be having an ongoing philosophical debate with itself about the nature of reality, complete with animated diagrams that moved in 4 dimensions. Is that a toaster connected to a quantum computer? Krell asked, pointing at a device that was simultaneously making breakfast and calculating parallel universe probabilities. Oh, that's Trevor, Kai said fondly, patting the hybrid device. He makes the best interdimensional toast. Also helps us with complex calculations when he's not experimenting with new bagel recipes. Before the alien scientists could process this latest assault on their understanding of technology, a new crisis emerged. The station's external sensors detected an approaching anomaly, a quantum storm of unprecedented magnitude. Well, that's not good, Izzy muttered, watching as the holographic display showed a roiling mass of quantum instability heading straight for them. The storm's probability waves are off the charts. If it hits us directly, complete quantum destabilization, Aisha finished, her quantum keyboard displaying readings in increasingly alarming shades of impossible colors. Our conventional shields won't hold against this level of reality fluctuation. Vix Theron stepped forward, their scientific expertise finally finding solid ground. Our vessel's shields are designed to handle quantum disturbances. We could extend them to protect. Or, Boris interrupted, stroking his beard thoughtfully while examining the storm's patterns, we could surf it. Surf? A quantum storm? Zarevek's voice modulator squeaked in disbelief. Think about it, Izzy said, her eyes lighting up with that now familiar look of inspired madness. The storm's not just a threat, it's raw quantum potential. If we could harness that energy, redirect it, we'd need to rewrite our shield harmonics on the fly. Kai mused, their cybernetic eyes analyzing probability patterns. Create a quantum resonance that matches the storm's frequency, while maintaining station stability, Aisha added, already composing what appeared to be a quantum physics rock opera on her keyboard. We'd need perfect synchronization across all systems. And our eye would need to calculate adjustments in real time, Boris concluded, pulling out what looked like a modified game controller. Good thing we taught it interpretive quantum mathematics last week. Vix Theron watched in fascinated horror as Thunder Team launched into action. Their plan wasn't just unconventional, it was beyond the boundaries of what should be possible. Yet they moved with the confident precision of artists creating a masterpiece. Izzy orchestrated the effort, her silver hair crackling with static as she coordinated between teams. Kai, reconfigure Trevor for quantum surfing calculations. Aisha, we need a harmonic frequency that will let us ride the probability waves. Boris, start sweet-talking our shields into being more flexible about their definition of reality. You cannot seriously be proposing to. Krell began, but stopped as they watched the humans' impossible plan take shape. The station's shields began to shimmer with new patterns, guided by Boris's gentle coaxing and what sounded suspiciously like motivational speeches in binary. Aisha's quantum rock opera merged with the shield harmonics, creating resonance patterns that made reality itself hum in harmony. Quantum storm approaching critical interface, the AI announced, its voice now somehow combining Morgan Freeman with the surfer dude. Probability waves are totally radical, dudes. Preparing for the gnarliest quantum ride this side of the galaxy. The storm hit, but instead of destruction, Phoenix Node began to dance. The shields, transformed by Thunder Team's modifications, didn't just resist the quantum energy. They embraced it, channeled it, turned it into something new. The station rode the probability waves like a cosmic surfer, each fluctuation adding to their power rather than threatening their stability. This is impossible, Vix Theron whispered, watching as their instruments tried to make sense of what was happening. You're not just surviving the storm. You're using it to improve station efficiency. Impossible is just another word for hasn't been tried with enough creativity yet, Izzy grinned, conducting the quantum symphony with movements that seemed to bend space itself. Sometimes you have to stop fighting against chaos and learn to dance with it instead. The storm raged on, but Phoenix Node was no longer in danger. Thunder Team had turned a potential catastrophe into a power source, a threat into an opportunity. The station's systems, guided by their impossible innovations, weren't just enduring, they were evolving. As the quantum storm dissipated, Phoenix Node emerged not just intact, but transformed. The station hummed with new energy, its systems operating at levels that made conventional physics textbooks spontaneously rewrite themselves in protest. The alien delegation stood in stunned silence, their worldview fundamentally altered. Final readings coming in, Kai announced, their cybernetic eyes scanning multiple dimensional readouts. Station efficiency up 500%, reality coherence stable at mostly conventional, and Trevor, the quantum toaster, has achieved enlightenment. He makes excellent sourdough now, Boris added proudly, with a hint of quantum entanglement in every slice. Vix Theron moved slowly through the control room, their crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the shimmer of newly stabilized quantum fields. The evidence before them couldn't be denied, even if it defied everything they'd ever known about universal constants. Your methods, they began carefully, are unlike anything in our scientific archives. You treat fundamental forces like they're open to negotiation, Izzy suggested, spinning her quantum conductor's baton. That's because they are. The universe isn't a rigid set of rules. It's more like a jazz composition. Sure, there's structure, but there's also room for improvisation. The station's AI, still riding the high of their quantum surfing adventure, projected a holographic display showing their journey through the storm. The visualization looked more like an abstract art piece than a technical readout, complete with quantum probability waves rendered in impressionist style. But how do you know what will work? Krell asked, their data pad having given up on conventional displays and now showing readings through interpretive dance. Your approaches seem random. Not random, Aisha corrected, her quantum keyboard playing soft harmonies that made nearby probability fields ripple. Intuitive. We've learned that the universe responds to creativity just as much as it does to calculation. Sometimes more. Thunder Team gathered around their main control console, which now doubled as a quantum jazz band's rhythm section. The successful navigation of the storm had added new patches to their uniforms, these ones reading Reality's Dance Partners and Quantum Surf Champions. You see, Izzy explained, pulling up diagrams that existed in several dimensions simultaneously. Traditional engineering treats the universe like a machine, but we found it's more like an artist, sometimes moody, often unpredictable, but always willing to collaborate if you approach it with the right attitude. The alien scientists watched as Thunder Team demonstrated their methodology, showing how they transformed the station's systems through a combination of brilliant innovation and what could only be described as technological charm. Boris had somehow taught the waste recycling system to sing harmony with the quantum harmonizer. Kai's probability matrices now included employee satisfaction ratings for various universal constants, and Aisha had the entire station's code base running as an ongoing symphony, with debug processes expressed through interpretive dance. This changes everything, Vix Theron realized, their antennae twitching with excitement. Our entire approach to technological advancement could use a little more jazz, Izzy suggested with a grin. A bit more willingness to color outside the quantum lines. The Galactic Science Council will never believe this, Zaravek said, their voice modulator crackling with a mix of awe and anxiety. Oh, we can help with that presentation, Kai offered. We found that quantum physics goes down easier when explained through interpretive dance and musical numbers. Trevor can provide the toast-based visual aids. As if to emphasize the point, the station's systems performed a spontaneous harmony, probability fields rippling in rhythm with the quantum core's steady beat. The AI, fully embracing its role as cosmic DJ, mixed in classical equations with quantum jazz riffs. The universe, Izzy said, watching her team's innovations dance through multiple dimensions, isn't just equations and rules. It's also poetry and music and art. The best engineering happens when you remember that reality itself has a sense of humor, and sometimes just wants to be asked nicely to try something new. Vix Theron looked at their team, seeing the same realization dawn in their expressions. They'd come to study human engineering and had instead discovered a whole new way of seeing the universe. Their rigidly structured worldview had been transformed, much like Phoenix Node itself, into something more flexible, more creative, and ultimately more powerful. Perhaps, they said, watching Trevor the quantum toaster calculate parallel universe probabilities while perfectly browning a bagel, it's time for the Galactic Science Council to update its engineering manuals, with a special section on human innovation, and possibly a chapter on quantum jazz. Now you're getting it. Izzy beamed. Who knows? Maybe next time we'll show you how we taught our warp drive to moonwalk. It's made our faster-than-light travel much more entertaining. As the alien delegation prepared their report, which would eventually cause 3 separate departments of the Galactic Science Council to request stress leave, Phoenix Node continued its dance through space. Its systems hummed with impossible efficiency, its crew celebrated with quantum-toasted bread, and somewhere in the station, reality itself was learning to swing dance. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of humor after all. And thanks to Thunder Team, it was finally learning to laugh along with the joke.